You ready to talk?
Yep, ready to go.
Okay. Good morning, Sea Pines. Welcome to the September meeting of the Board of Directors. I'm gonna make just a few comments before we get started with the meeting. I do want to remind you that there are a number of reports that are going to be given, and those of you who want information, it'll be very helpful for you to hear these reports. The minutes of the meeting will be timestamped for those who don't attend and want to see it on YouTube later on. So you can go to the sections you want to. So if you want to skip remarks by people like me, you can. The summer has been very interesting. We've had extremely heavy rains, those of you who know who've been here. We've had more than a year's worth of rainfall through August. The ground has been extremely saturated from two very heavy rains, and those heavy rains caused some significant water problems. And one of the things we learned from these, while these are unprecedented rains, we did learn that there's some areas that had some flooding and that we need to address those. There are some of those areas going to need some engineering work and construction work and maybe new drains. We also learned as part of this, and you saw our crews, those of you here working around the clock during these particular times. We were running the pumps and doing all of the things we would have done during any of these situations. You will notice that the lagoons are at a very low level, trying to drain the soil, the water that's in the soil into that, so that the soil itself will absorb future rain. And we're also in hurricane season, and I think from conversations with Sam, we're going to keep the lagoons low through hurricane season to fasten protection. So we do, one other thing came really to light. During this last rain that we had, Sea Pines, all water on the south end of the island drains through Sea Pines. That's through Coligny, Palmetto Bay Road, those areas, they all flow through Sea Pines to the south. If you were out in the second heavy rain on Palmetto Bay Road, you would have seen there was flooding on that road, across the road. This part of the system that is within Sea Pines depends upon the town helping to maintain and maintaining pumps, risers, control structures, and things of this nature. And you're going to hear some things we're going to do because some of those have been delayed in the town previously for getting them fixed and done as we wanted. But now it's evidently a problem, and particularly this. The one over Palmetto Bay Road with the water over there that was going through the club course in that area. There were areas that experienced flooding over there that I don't think anybody had ever seen before. Because of the, and again, we had 6, 7, 8 inches of rain in a short period of time. Also, CSA has hired a COO for the first time. Sam's going to introduce the COO. CSA has hired a new controller, and Sam will introduce him at this meeting. Next, a few weeks ago, we announced that the Federal Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals had upheld the validity of the referendum, which was challenged by one property owner. A brief history of those who are more recent to Sea Pines is that a referendum of property owners was called to consider adding $600 to the property owner's annual assessment. While it is a part of the annual assessment, those funds were to be earmarked for critical infrastructure needs like roads, drainage, and such. But it is part of the annual assessment. Almost 88% of the property owners voted to increase this annual assessment. One property owner filed a lawsuit to challenge the referendum. The federal court at the trial level approved the referendum. Then that person appealed the court's decision to the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals in Virginia. And that court also approved the referendum. That's the approval that we just notified you of about a little over a month ago. But after that decision was entered, that same person has asked for a rehearing of that decision to the same court and has filed a motion earlier this month to do that. That's the status as far as I know, but we've won twice. Who knows what'll happen the third time? I don't want to be negative. I'm very optimistic after two victories that it's going to be, it'll continue, but we'll see what happens. We're limited, say, in what we say about pending legal matters. So anytime there's litigation or other pending legal matters, please be aware that we are limited, and sometimes we don't tell you quite everything, and there's a reason for that. And per lawyer's advice, and every lawyer will tell you not to talk too much because you become your own worst witness. During our meeting today, we will present an amendment to our gate agreement to raise the gate pass fee from $9 to $10. The gate agreement is something CSA inherited with the bankruptcy court. And after the bankruptcy, and then later after the sale of Sea Pines Center by sale to Sea Pines Center by Charles Frazier, the Sea Pines Center became a party to the gate agreement. So it was a company, CSA, and Sea Pines Center. And the gate agreement could only be changed by unanimous agreement of those three parties at that time. Not a majority, but all three. Sea Pines Center has been purchased by an affiliate of the resort, and so now you will remember there was, well, maybe you don't remember. In 2018, there was an amendment to the gate agreement that, among other things, provided that the fee would be increased to $10 based on the number of cars that passed through the gate. COVID prevented that number from being reached. So that didn't occur. So that $10 has been in the original 2018 agreement. Last year, Sea Pines Center, as I said, was sold to an affiliate of the resort, which leaves two named parties to the gate agreement, but also Bob Gossett as a necessary party with the resort. The resort and Bob Gossett agreed to raise the fee to $10, which is again part of the plan of the 2018 gate agreement. And I'm going to ask the CSA board to vote on that today. Pursuant to the amendment that we made earlier this year in the gate agreement, all monies from the gate agreement will go to CSA to use for community purposes in accordance with our covenants and applicable law, and none of it goes to any individual party. Again, please pay attention to the reports of the meetings. You will get a lot of information. We've also created a dashboard which contains a lot of information that you can access at your convenience. You now have more access to information from CSA than any other time in the past. Utilize these tools to access that information. Additional information will continue to be added on the dashboard as we go along. With that said, I want to end on at least my personal note of happiness and joy. At least for me to be able to live in a community as wonderful as Sea Pines, it's been a great thing in my life, and particularly at this time of my life. And to live with such wonderful people that I've encountered and so many friends that I've made. I enjoy life in Sea Pines, and I hope that you do too. This is our community. This is our place. And for many of us, this is our final stop. And we want it to be a very happy place and a happy ending to our entire lives. It's serving that purpose for me. I hope it serves that purpose for you and that you're enjoying it as much as I do. Thank you very much. And now we'll go into the business part of the meeting. I appreciate you indulging me and let me say a few words. I'm going to now call on, we haven't ratified the minutes of the Board of Directors meeting of May 20 or May 6th. I have a motion to ratify the approval of those minutes. I so move. Bill Johnson seconds. All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. These minutes were already approved electronically and we just ratified them. I've made my remark and I'm now calling on Sam Bennett to make what remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, board, and thank you, members of the community. First thing I'd like to do is take just a moment to introduce our newest employee here at CSA, a gentleman that many of you may know already, who has agreed to come to work for us and with us. Sean Colin is retired from the town of Hilton as the assistant town manager and is now come to work for CSA as COO working for me. He'll be handling a number of things under the umbrella of CSA, including cemetery, ARB relations, forest preserve, working with Jared Mays and our maintenance, stormwater management. Eventually, we'll be taking over some of the trolleys as well as handling our front desk, our customer service focus. He will become the point person for customer service and property owner services here at CSA and making sure those teams all work together. And Sean, we're glad to have you. It was a long search. Glad you're here and give you an opportunity to say a few words if you'd like.
Sure. Well, thanks again. My name is Sean Colin. It's my honor and privilege to be here, and I've served the town of Hilton Island for 19 years. My wife is assistant town manager out in Bluffton, so we've got a lot of experience here locally. I grew up a 100-day plan for Sam. My first month or so was really to understand strategic priorities, financial structure, and relationships, both with staff, with affiliated agencies. Certainly want to maintain my connection with the town of Hilton Island as a partner, and then to meet and understand the board direction in alignment with Sam. So this is day 7 for me. Learned an awful lot last week. I came back Monday with some energy, and I'm ready to serve this community. We've already taken a few actions related to stormwater, and I'm happy to announce we're going to try to accelerate the installation of some control structures. As Chairman Ellis mentioned, most of the south end of the island drains through sea pines. And so having that relationship with the town is going to be a benefit to help accelerate some of those needs. So I'm happy to be here. I won't hold the meeting up too much longer. I'm sure we'll get to know each other along the way. I do want to say one thing about CSA in my short time here. Sam and the board and the senior team have put together a wonderful organization. Again, my 7th day today, but I feel like I've been here for a while. They're welcoming, very professional, responsive, not just to me, but to the community in my observation. So I'm happy to be here. And I'm also happy I don't have to attend the town council meeting tonight. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Sean. We'll see how that evolves over the coming year. We're glad to have you on board.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Steve Burwell, you want to say?
I just wanted to welcome Sean. We've always enjoyed working with you, Sean, at the town, and now we'll look forward to working closely with you at CSA. So welcome and pleased to have you on board.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
We have our second newest employee with us. I'm gonna let Victoria introduce Mike.
Yeah, so we have a new controller. It's really exciting. His name is Mike Daber. I'm gonna let him show his face in just a minute, but we worked long and hard, and we found the greatest fit for our organization. And so, Mike, I'm gonna ask you just to say a couple words to the community about your background and how much you love it here.
I do love it. Hello everyone, good morning. My name is Mike Daber. I have a 25-year career in accounting and finance, most of that in nonprofit accounting. I am a new resident to the Hilton Head area, but I have been visiting Hilton Head since September 12th, 1980. So I have family down here. So this island has has a place in my heart and my family's heart. And so I am very grateful for this opportunity to help support CSA, Victoria and Sam especially, in service to this community. And I'm looking forward to this great adventure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Sam,
Yes, sir.
would you address that potentially we are almost fully staffed for the first time in 15 to 20 years? Personally, for me, I feel like we are very, very close.
Don, we are filling these two key positions. We are staffed pretty much across the board now, from security through administration and as well as our maintenance folks. So we're at the high water mark as it relates to staff. I shouldn't say high water mark with everything going on, but I will. I appreciate you recognizing that. So we're happy to have more folks to share the load with, and Sean and Mike are going to be great additions to the team as we move ahead and continue to do great things for this community.
Yeah, thank you, Sam, for what you've done so far in establishing the organization that we have now. But thank you.
Yes, sir. Glad to have the opportunity to do it. Two other quick comments. We've got, as the chair mentioned and others, last month was the wettest month I can remember ever. In my 55 years of being on this earth in the state of South Carolina and other places, 30 inches of rain in 1 month. And we were literally overwhelmed. And we learned a few things. We learned, first of all, that our critical infrastructure projects that we've been putting in the ground, they worked. They've done very, very well. Moving water and controlling the flooding. So the engineering has worked, the designs have worked, the installations have worked. What we've figured out, those are some areas that aren't necessarily part of our critical infrastructure that need some attention. I won't say falling through the cracks, but when we have that level of rain, we have an operating plan to do regular maintenance. We have the critical infrastructure plan to do the major projects, but there are 5 or 6 areas around the community that need some attention that have not, that we didn't have really programmed. And so we're putting together a list of those projects to talk about. Some of those Plantation Drive's got a few places. Greenwood Drive has a couple of places. So you'll see our crews working through that here in the near future, and we'll be doing some budgeting associated with that as part of the 2026 budgeting process. Additionally, our beach walks really took a pounding because of the rain. The beach walk drainage systems are typically some of the oldest, and because of the oldest, they are really the ones that have the least functioning system. And what I mean by that is the pipe that was put in the ground was called Orangeburg pipe. Actually, it came from Orangeburg, New York, not Orangeburg, South Carolina. So this pipe is basically tar paper that's wrapped. Sometimes it has asbestos associated with it. And over the course of the years, this pipe has failed dramatically. So we're going to need to put a lot more attention onto our beach walks under the ground, as well as you'll see us begin to widening our beach walks to areas to 4 to 5 feet where we can, expanding the width of the beach walks to making them more accessible and usable to the community. The real challenge for the beach walks became just the groundwater got so saturated, there was nowhere for the water to go. So the drainage there was nowhere for the water to drain. And so we're going to correct that. That'll be part of our 2026 budget process. We're also doing some budget amendments today to carry some money over that was previously budgeted to spend some of that in this budget year on beach walk improvements. And I think those are sort of the main things I wanted to mention, Mr. Ellis. But as we work through the management reports, I'm sure I'll have some comments.
One little personal thing I want to put in about the drains and the sinkholes and things. And Sam knows what I'm going to say. Sam was out inspecting the drains and and sinkholes, and he actually fell in a sinkhole.
I did follow one.
And luckily, we had 2 other employees there that to help him get out of the sinkhole.
I think it was Sean's second day on the job, and I was concerned that Sean may have been trying to move up quicker than he should have, and may have pushed me. But it turned out it was actually a sinkhole. So, Sean, you're still okay.
Well, I heard about the effort to evaluate your position, Sam, to make sure you were taken care of. And once I knew that was the case,
Well, we're just glad it wasn't a property owner or business.
That's correct.
So, one of us.
Well, I'm happy to report Jared and his team have gone out and they've checked all of those beach walks, and so we've identified every area that we can find there may be an issue moving ahead.
Good. And I think that's important to know. All right, we're going to go through now management reports. The first one's communication. Stephanie?
Yes, thank you. Good morning. We have some great presentations on the agenda this morning, so I'm going to keep my report relatively short. I do want to remind the community that our board of directors election is coming up this fall. The election date of record is October 1st, which is when we will pull our member list. So please ensure your contact information is updated by that deadline. You can update your contact information online at seapinesliving.com/contact. Or of course, you may call our office here or give us an email and we'll be happy to assist you. Our Meet the Candidate video will premiere on Tuesday, October 14th. So please watch for the launch announcement in your email, on our Facebook page, or on our website. There will be a shredding event on Monday, September 29th from 10 a.m. to noon at the Sea Pines Community Center parking lot. More information about that event and what to expect can be found on our website at seapinesliving.com/events. Since our last meeting, we have launched our new quarterly reporting dashboard on the website. If you haven't yet reviewed the Q2 operational reports, you can find them at seapinesliving.com/dashboard. We'll be updating the dashboard with Q3 data in early October, and I'll announce it in our weekly community update email once it's live. A reoccurring theme in my report is how to find information on our website, which is why you constantly hear me say seapinesliving.com/. I'm happy to share that our web development team and I are making significant progress on the content and design of our new website. Our top priority is creating a more user-friendly and intuitive experience while also visually enhancing the site. So I'm excited to keep you all updated as we move forward with that project. And that is the end of my report, but please let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Stephanie. Any questions for Stephanie from board members? Stephanie, thank you for your work and appreciate the dashboards. And I know you're going to continue to evolve those as we get some more historical data, and appreciate putting that work out there, and looking forward to the new website as you continue to process through that. So we'll have even better access for our property owners and our visitors and guests.
Absolutely. Thank you.
The next item is going to be the critical community infrastructure, and Russell Fredericks. So you're looking, are you there?
Yep. Good morning, Mr. Chair. How are you?
All right.
Just before I start the presentation, I have just a few slides to share this morning. Mr. Chair, I just want to thank you for your service to the community. It's greatly appreciated. And Sean, welcome aboard to the CSA team. It's great to have you here, and look forward to working with you over the coming weeks and months ahead. Sam, thank you for your continued leadership with our capital efforts, and working hand in hand with yourself and Victoria to push these projects along and keep them rolling is greatly appreciated. So again, just have a few slides to share this morning. Just give me a moment while I bring that up. Can you see that?
I can.
Yes.
Okay, great. Again, just want to recap our projects that we've been working on over the last year. Many of you know that we had a project out of sequence, so to speak, from a date perspective, which was phase 2 of Lighthouse Lane, which was a critical aspect of Harbortown and Lighthouse Road, Lighthouse Lane infrastructure. We replaced one of the main outfalls that crosses the 18th fairway of the Harbortown Links Golf Course, which outfalls to Calabogie Sound. Sam and Mr. Chair, you mentioned the incredible amounts of rain that we've had, and obviously the stormwater system is moving a lot of water out of that neighborhood. This system was dated back to the late 1950s, early 1960s, mostly corrugated metal pipe, and something that needed dire attention. So again, have a few slides to share this morning of phase 2 and phase 3 work of Lighthouse Lane, in which we replaced a lot, the curbing and new sidewalks were installed and resurfaced the road. But most importantly, the stormwater infrastructure that's under the ground, which was failing incredibly over the period of years I've been here, was completely replaced. Again, sharing a few photos, and you most likely saw these in our weekly email blast. In the center, that's a photo of the control structures that we were referencing earlier. This happens to be a 36-inch stormwater pipe that exits again through the Harbortown Links Golf Course and drains that entire community down there, including the Spinnaker Court and the rest of Lighthouse Lane and all the villa complexes. Our contractors perform the work on time and in a really kind of condensed time frame overall, and again, a kind of out of turn from a sequencing calendar perspective. But again, we did pull that off right after the tournament and finished before the 4th of July. Again, just sharing those couple photos, and you can see in the lower left-hand corner that the deteriorated stormwater pipes that we've been dealing with and removing from the ground to improve conditions moving forward. Lighthouse Lane Phase 3, which we're working on currently. Again, this is available. All this information is available on our website and through our Facebook page, and the notices that Stephanie has been putting out on a regular basis. I can't thank the property owners enough for their cooperation, understanding, and patience as we work through this. We did set up some temporary parking for Phase 3, but so far so good. We've been very fortunate with the amount of traffic we've been dealing with, and really fortunate with the turn in the weather the last couple weeks that we've accomplished a lot, and we're on schedule right now as far as the overall project goes, at least for the first few weeks here. Showing a couple of photos of Phase 3 as we're working essentially from the Spinnaker Court area down towards the marina. We're going to be completing this portion of work this week, and then we'll kind of flip the project and start the stormwater drainage going towards Mizamast Lane beginning next week. So again, we're moving along quickly. We'll also start curb demolition and sidewalk work construction here most likely in the first week of October. So it's going to get even busier down there with construction activity, and our traffic control is in place on a daily basis. Just switching gears to our Otter Road improvement project. It's a comprehensive stormwater infrastructure replacement of all the stormwater in that neighborhood, including the other side streets, including Fawn Lane, Fox Lane, Possum, and Beaver Lane, as that system is all interconnected, including a ditch network that runs through the open space and does take that water out to a creek that kind of parallels Otter Road and out to Calabogie Sound. So working on all that now, and we are on schedule so far, and again, hoping that the weather continues to work with us as we make progress. Sharing a few photos of Otter Road. This is an area which the water table is extremely high. Sam mentioned that earlier in the beach walks. Well, not only in the beach walks, but other areas of the community, we also have what they refer to as a very perched water table, very high in the soil profile. So we have a lot of specialized pumps that are on site to remove this water and also keep the storm water system active as we move through this process. We have what we refer to as a bypass pumping system to allow us to do this work as we progress. Updates will be provided as we move along, but we do have traffic control, and we've had to close down portions of the road as we're working, as the roadway is very narrow, and so there's a lot of areas that we're not going to be able to kind of have a single lane roadway closure. But we do have detours set up, and then we're working with the property owners regarding temporary parking and those sorts of things. So again, we really appreciate the cooperation of the property owners in the Outer Road neighborhood as we work around the roads in there. And lastly, Greenwood Drive, Sam referenced that some areas that are holding water. We have finished survey work, and we're pretty far along with engineering on what would over 2 miles of roadway, which would be planned for a future budget year. But we are, again, working on that currently with our engineers to identify areas that are holding water where we can make improvements and then replace a deteriorated stormwater pipe throughout that system. That concludes my presentation this morning. Glad to take any questions. Thank you.
Anybody? Any questions? Very good report.
I want to say reiterate one more time how much we appreciate CPON's resort working with us as we cross the 18th fairway of Harbor Town Golf Links. And the timing couldn't have been better for both of our organizations to do this work, and it's paid dividends in that area. I appreciate it. I'm glad the course is undergoing a major renovation because we were able to utilize that at this time. So Steve, thank you again for letting us get across there.
Absolutely. That's a critical link there and connection. So we needed to make it happen.
Okay. If nothing else on this, Russell, we thank you, and we'll go to community maintenance. Gerald May, there he is.
Yep.
Okay.
Good morning. How y'all doing today?
We're okay. More importantly, how you doing to keeping the community up?
I'm doing better now that we're past that little rain spell we had. I still need to figure out who was doing that rain dance for us because they caused a lot of trouble. Can everybody see my screen okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. I'm just going to kind of go through and speak to some pictures and give y'all a little update on some of the things we've been working on since our last meeting in May. I did want to highlight the Stony Baynard ruins. We have done quite a bit of work in that area. As you can see from the photo on the right, there's some of the debris that we've been removing. So we kind of pushed the perimeter vegetation around the ruins back approximately 25 feet. It's just years of vegetation and sucker and volunteer growth kind of closing in on the ruins area, kind of making it feel a little bit more congested. We completed that work in June, I believe. We also trimmed some of the corridors that were existing. They were starting to get narrow as well. Some upcoming work, and we planned on doing this already, but obviously the last 7 or 8 weeks we've been dealing with a lot of rain and stormwater. We already ordered new split rail fencing. It's sitting in our shop yard. We're going to get that installed. Had to wait for the ground to dry out before we could do that. The stairs going up to the ruins, we're going to refill those steps with pea gravel. And then we're going to add a little bit of fill dirt and mulch on the top of the exposed roots that have washed, where the soil is washed out into the steps. Some contracted work that we're looking at is a possible vista prune from the ruins west towards the Calabogie Sound. We're going to locate the front porch step foundation post. And then the one that's going to happen next is we're going to do some forestry mulching for some volunteer sucker growth around the exterior of the ruins. And then there's some long-term goals that we're going to be looking at as well. And there should be more information on those coming up soon. While I'm flipping through, to date, we've removed approximately 360 cubic yards of vegetation debris from that area. And again, that was just years of vegetation growing in without a full-blown plan for us to manage it. Here's a few photos of the corridor pathways, some before and afters. As you can see on the left, very narrow, kind of harder to walk through. And then on the right, you can see where we've cleared it out, and it's a lot more easier ingress and egress for guests and visitors. Again, another before and after photo. You couldn't really even see where the pathway was on the left side, but we've opened it up much larger on the right. And then here's another example. There was some vines that were growing in and choking the vegetation. We've removed those and widened it as well. So I'm going to move on and give you a quick update on some of the dredging we've done in the Harbortown area. As Russell did, I took advantage of the course being closed, and we tried to go in and remove some sediment that has accumulated in some of the master stormwater ponds. So we used the mechanical method, which is essentially an excavator and a dump truck going in, digging out the sediment and debris and taking it off site and removing it. This way water can flow more effectively through the stormwater channels. So here's an example of a different area where our excavator was working. And this is a before and after photo I wanted to show you. So on the left, you can see the water wasn't getting from the lagoon to the head wall. And on the right-hand side, after we dug it out, you can see how the water can easily flow through to drain or fill up as needed. I've showed you all this picture before, and this was not part of the Harbortown dredging, but it's the best pond that I can get a before and after photo showing what after we've moved us sediment. So as you can see in the middle of the pond, there's a couple, I guess, mounds of dirt and sediment that have filled in. So the pipe on this end, and then there's a pipe on this end. So if water goes through the pond, it's essentially going around one way or another, which is holding up a lot of water. And here's an example of what it looked like after it was dug out. So again, the pipes are here, the pipes here, and then we kind of put like a deeper channel through the middle to help water traverse through that pond. And it's helped tremendously when we're trying to drain for these storms. I mean, we're seeing ponds, some of them drain in a couple hours that would have taken days before. Also want to give an update on our bank stabilization project on Live Oak. As y'all know, we use a vegetative approach instead of riprap. Vegetation, quite frankly, looks better. It's less industrialized than riprap, and also that vegetation will help soak up some of the nutrients in the groundwater and things that are going into these ponds. We have overall completed the project. We still have to go back and do a little bit of touch-up work. We're gonna kind of grade out some of the spots where we stored soil, and then we're gonna overseed it with some ryegrass as soon as the temperatures cool down a little bit. For just, I guess, a kind of quick update on what the process is. It's a proprietary kind of fabric that they use. They're essentially staking it to the side of the lagoon bank and then wrapping it up. And then in between the two pieces of fabric right here, they'll fill that with either mulch, dirt, or sand, whatever we can use. And it actually pushes the lagoon bank back out to where it was pre-erosion. And as you can see on this side of the lagoon bank, how much eroded it was actually a straight drop off. And there were some areas of the lagoon where it was very, very close to the edge of the roadway. So that's why we made this our top priority for bank stabilization. As you can see, this is where they've started to fill the bags with, or the material with sediment. And this is where they have not. So you can see it's starting to take shape and rebuild that lagoon bank back to a 3-to-1 slope. Again, another angle. You can see this is already all filled in before a sod was put down. And then this is a good before and after photo I have. Again, you can see how far this pipe was sticking out here and how it was just a complete drop off. There was really no lagoon bank. It was just dirt that dropped off. And as you can see on the photo on the right, we've reestablished a 3-to-1 slope and given it a bank that it was originally intended to have. You have to forgive me for these photos. I was trying to run around after one of the days where we weren't having rain, but this is like right after it got put down, then we got all that rain. So we're working through getting that reestablished as well. So as Mr. Bennett and Mr. Ellis have already mentioned, the August rainfalls, it's kind of hard for me to do an update and not include this. It's been about 8 weeks now worth of work that we've had to do, basically focused on what the rain has brought us. I thought this was a cool little graph, kind of shows you the trend of the rainfalls over the years. But I do want to make note, this was at the end of August when I took this photo here. So in 2025, with 4 months left in the year, we've got 53 inches of rain for the year. I also wanted to make note that in 2021, there was 27 inches of rain for the entire year, which we received in 4 weeks. Well, more than that in 4 weeks. So just to kind of show you what we're up against and what we've been dealing with here. So with the heavy rainfalls brings the lagoon retention and some of these issues. I just want to share some pictures so y'all can see some of the things that we were seeing live action. So even though some of the lagoons were lowered, that were able to be lowered, they were still over capacity just with the amount of rainfall. I think some of the days we received 7, 8, 9, 10 inches of rain in a couple hours. So this photo in particular was during a high tide, so we were unable to push any additional water out. So as the runoff water is going to the lagoon, it's not able to drain, so it's kind of retaining in that area. There's an area where it crested over. Thankfully, once the tide kind of turned, it was able to go down a little bit, but there's that few hours where you're dealing with the high tide and you can't push any water out. Here's an example of one of the roadways that was flooded. This particular area, this was Battery Road. We had just sediment that was on top of the catch basin. Once we were able to get over there and get to it, we were able to remove the pine straw from the top and then get the road drained. As you can see, these lines up here in the grass. So this is an area where the stormwater was functioning. There was just so much rain at once that it was slowly going down, and you could kind of see the marks where the pine straw is. That's the different levels throughout time where the level or the stormwater is entering the system. It's just taking a little longer because of how much rain we received. So obviously you've seen photos of the streets and areas that we have, but there's also additional challenges that we get when we get these heavy rains. And Sam kind of mentioned some of the areas where we didn't know there was issues. So if we get a normal 2 or 3 inch rainfall, our system can handle those no problem. But you get 9, 10 inches on top of 20 inches that you've already received. It definitely shows you other deficiencies that you don't know about until you get these rainfalls. So this photo on the left is kind of an example. As you can see, it's a grass ditch that's clean. There's no trees or anything in the ditch, but that amount of rainfall is just picking up limbs and pine straw and pushing them in the front of a pipe end, which in turn is causing it to obstruct upstream. Thankfully, this was easy. It was just taking a rake and removing it from the end of the pipe. But no matter how much preventative maintenance you're doing and the pipes are clean, there's always things that are going to happen during the storm, which is why we have staff here when these things happen. The photo on the right, you can see there was a catch basin in the yard that was covered up. And even though there was grass in the yard, it was just pine straw that had floated from down the road. This was a really good example I wanted to share with y'all. So this was Duck Hawk on August 28th. So you could see at 6:18, we got there, there was probably 3.5 feet of water. I couldn't even get out of my truck. The water was over the running boards in it. But thankfully we were able to find where the catch basin was and get it drained. So it took about 20 minutes to get this drained. But I did want to point out, well, one, I want to thank the board and our senior leadership for giving us an environment that our employees want to come to work in. This was a Saturday. These guys could have been at home with their families. They could have been out having fun, but knowing that the community needs them, they're one call away. We call them and they're happy to come in and do what they need to do. And that's really a true testament to the culture that CSA has for their employees, that they're here and they're willing to leave their families and their alone time to come in and work for us. So I wanted to thank you guys and thank our staff for allowing us to have that culture. Here's another example. This was a pipe end that was jammed up and this was causing upstream areas to flood. Thankfully, you could see only a 7-minute difference. We were able to pull the obstruction out, get the water flowing into the ditch. So, again, having staff on site during these times and calling them saying, hey, go check behind here. They go back, they're able to pull a limb out and get these areas to flow. Another issue, as you can see, this is just excessive runoff that came off the road, off the leisure trail, that again, during a normal rainfall, we've never experienced, but that much water coming through it caused this to cave in. One of the infamous beach walks that Sam spoke about, this was beach walk 39. And again, it's just aging infrastructure, Orangeburg pipe. And when it gets that much rain, a lot of them just have collapsed. They can't handle that. And being 50, 60, 70 years old, they're going to give way at some point. And unfortunately, it's when we got these high rains. Another thing with the Orangeburg pipe is it's very, very hard to do maintenance on. As y'all know, we have our line jetting machines that will go and line jet to get the debris out of the pipes. But as Sam mentioned, with these being made out of essentially tar and cardboard, we can't use high pressure water because it'll blow the pipe. I mean, it'll blow it up essentially. So maintenance is very, very hard to do on these. Yet it's very meticulous and we have to be very, very careful. But this was another example of an area that our staff saw this before it was even called in. This was a proactive patrol that one of our staff members saw. Another issue again is erosion. You can see on the left where water was sheeting off the road, feeding into the pond. But again, just the sheer volume of it, the pond just started to give way in the corner. As you can see, this was all riprap at one point. So even though we used a bank stabilization method, it's still just the amount of water just still caused it to give way. Same thing with this photo on the right. It's the water was trying to get into the pond, which caused erosion there as well. So what do we do while these are going on? We do our proactive patrols, and in areas where there is standing water, we try to set pumps up. Obviously roadways are our number one priority, getting those clear. We want to make sure emergency vehicles have access to homes if needed. Also want to make sure people can get in and out if they got to go to doctor's appointments or grocery stores and things like that. I think we deployed, I think it was I think 12 different locations where we had to put these pipes out or these pumps out. And not only is it just putting the pump out, it's filling them with fuel, making sure the suction hoses aren't full of debris, making sure they're discharging correctly. So we actually had 2 or 3 crews that's all they did was go around just man these pumps, because more than leave one, and the fuel tanks aren't big. I think they hold 1.5 gallons, so they're running out of fuel in 2 or 3 hours. So it's just an evolving process that we're going around manning these pumps and making sure they're running efficiently. Also, it's a 3-inch suction hose. So imagine like a 3-inch hose. If the water level's at 2 inches, the pump's sucking in air, causes it to cavitate, so it's not really pumping water. And we had that issue in some spots where, yes, there was standing water, but we couldn't pump it any further because the pump will only pump 3 to 4 inches. So while speaking about that, I did want to mention some of the beach walks did have standing water for a while, and really that was groundwater that just had nowhere to go. It was funny. I think it was beach walk 46. The one day we pumped it dry. I'm like, all right, well, let's get the pump. Let's pick it up, take it somewhere else. Well, they went back to pick the pump up and it was full of water again. I'm like, I know it was empty. We had pictures of it empty. So what was happening is we were pumping the water, pumping it out, and then since it was a low spot, we're just filling right back up from the groundwater. Obviously, the groundwater is going to fill up in the lowest areas first. So it felt like we were kind of doing a revolving cycle. We'd pump something dry, and then it would fill back up. We'd pump it, fill back up. So, but as Sam mentioned, we do have a thorough report of the board of the beach walks now. So we'll have that coming down the pipeline here soon. But hoping to help mitigate some of those areas and eliminate those deficiencies as a plan moving forward, so we don't have to have them pumping all the time. Again, another example, you can see here over on the right-hand side where this is higher water than this is here. So that we were able to tell there's clearly an obstruction in front of the pipe or in the pipe, but thankfully we were able to move some of that debris and then set this pump up here to manually pump around to be able to get the road to drain that area. So believe it or not, we did do a few things other than rain, deal with stormwater issues. So I just wanted to highlight on a few of these real quick. Our CSA facilities team has been hard at work, and they're kind of one of those crews that I guess flies under the radar. You don't see them a whole lot, but they do a lot of work and they keep this place looking good. This photo on the left, you can see here, we were changing out one of the street lights on the entrance at the Greenwood Gate. This photo here, you can see we're actually pressure washing one of the curbs. To us, it's kind of the little details, keeping the curbs clean and things like that really go a long way. I mean, anyone can cut grass, but we really want to focus on some of the finer detail things to make sure we maintain the visual that we want Sea Pines to be for everybody. And then over these 2 photos on the right, you can see a before and after of our staff. They did some carpet cleaning at the community center, just kind of keep it up to speed, make sure it's looking nice. And then a few of our contracted services. Here's the irrigation valve replacement we did on Greenwood Drive. We did immense amount of asphalt repairs this season. We did a ton of roadside tree trimming, beach walk trimming, leisure trail trimming this season. And then we did some thermal line striping as well. I did want to make mention, we were able to, in the last few weeks, get some signs installed outside the front gate. The traffic task force and Russell worked together to get these signs made and pick the locations out, and our maintenance staff was able to install these. There's 7 of them total between the Sea Pine Circle and the front gate. So hopefully it'll help direct people which lane to be in. And I'm sure Joe will probably know better, as his staff members in the guardhouse are the ones that are, I guess, dealing with where people are at in their lanes. But so far we've had positive feedback on them, so hopefully it'll help mitigate those issues up there. I did want to just give a quick update on our community standards. We've sent approximately 1,350 notices thus far. around 25% are landscaping related, around 20% are unsightly items, around 14% are maintenance related, which most of those are just power washing. With some of the rain we've had, it's caused a lot more algae growth and a lot of roof debris. And then around 11% are architectural. And those are our 4 highest categories. That's where we see majority of our deficiencies. Let me stop sharing the screen here. Give me 1 second. Actually, you know what? I'm sorry. I had one more photo I wanted to show y'all. If you wouldn't mind. So this was kind of a last minute, as y'all were talking about some of the work Russell's done. I did want to give a reminder to Sam and Steve. Remember last year during Debbie, I had to call you at 11 o'clock at night, say, hey, we need to go across the 18th fairway of Harbortown.
Yes, Jared, I do remember having you call me and having to call Steve and tell him we were going across the fairway.
So again, here's some photos of last year that I was able to scrounge up real quick. As you can see, the water was flooding all the way up into where the clubhouse area was. These were all last year during Debbie. So I just figured as a quick reminder, that's what we dealt with last year at a heavy rainfall. And we did not get one single call for flooding in that area while we dealt with the 30 inches of rain in August. So I know we have a lot going on, but I just figured these pictures would help us remember what we were dealing with before this money was put into the infrastructure here. And I know me and my staff are thankful because it was one less area we had to go to deal with. So I just wanted to thank you guys and thank Russell for all his hard work in that area. That's everything I had, so I'm happy to answer any questions y'all may have for us.
Bill, you have a question?
Jared, Jared, as the chair of the SIM committee, I want to thank you for keeping us afloat during this monsoon season. You and your staff just did a phenomenal job, and we all owe you a debt of gratitude. So thank you so much. And Mr. Chairman, I apologize, but I'm going to have to leave the meeting early today.
Well, thanks,
Okay,
Bill.
thank you. And Jared, we all thank you for that. So
I just want to add something Jared said. I know the board knows this and the community knows this, but I need to say it out loud. It is absolutely the men and women that work in the maintenance and security, because security is part of helping manage things when we have events like that. Without those folks willing to come to work and do those things in the weather and dealing with the things they have to deal with during those events, it wouldn't happen. We wouldn't have the community we have. And the other piece to that is keeping those employees wanting to come to work day in and day out for CSA is critical, because if you think about it, if you look at all those photos that Jared showed you, there's not one of us in this room or on the screen that would know where to find the catch basin that's under 2.5 feet of water or under the mulch. But those employees know where those things are. And so they have a level of institutional knowledge that as they work and understand the stormwater system, they're very effective in how they're able to deal with these challenges. So Jared, I appreciate that. I appreciate the way you've been able to retain good employees and their willingness to come back and take care of this community during those type of weather events.
Yep. Well, thank you. We appreciate that. And I'll share that with our staff members as well.
yeah. Thank you, Jared.
Yep.
All right, next item, finance and administration.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to comment on those 2 presentations that you just saw, and that it is really great for me to be kind of in the background, kind of backstage, to be able to give the support to not only Russell and Jared, but to all the employees, and to really recognize them and appreciate their dedication and loyalty to us and the community. So it's really an honor for me to be able to help in my little way from my back office to be able to interact. As you met Mike, so we're super excited to have him. He's one of the family already, and he's just fitting right in. We're working on the budget. We've started the budget for 2026. I checked this morning, and the increase in CPI as of August is 2.92%. Most of you do know that we do use September increase for our budget, but I just wanted to give an update as to kind of what we're looking at. We have also started the process to renew our insurance. We moved from a calendar year to a renewal starting November 1st, a number of years ago, in order to get us in front of these carriers and be able to tell our story a little better versus everybody else trying to scramble around for a calendar year renewal. So that's going. And finally, I'll touch on the collections. Thank you to all the property owners that have paid their annual assessment. We are 99% collected. So that's great news. So thank you again to everyone. And our rental registration is about 74% collected, which is higher than last year at 68. But I do want to mention that as of February of this year, the 2024 rental registration was 99% collected. So there may be some property owners that just catch up when they pay their annual assessment. So thank you to everyone that's been on top. That's my report today. Does anyone have any questions?
Any questions?
Leanne's going to give a big, robust presentation on the finance. So look forward to that.
Thank you, Victoria. Okay, David Henderson. Is David?
There he is in the corner.
There he is, let's see. Operations and Special Projects, David. Welcome to the board.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning, everyone. Just wanted to bring you up to speed with a few things in the Forest Preserve now that the dog days of summer are behind us and we're kind of sneaking into fall. It's a busy time to be in the Forest Preserve, and it's a great time to visit the Forest Preserve. Just wanted to start with a couple previous ATAX applications that the Forest Preserve made in 2022 and 2024. Both of those were successful. In 2022, we were able to produce new signage for the shell ring that each included an own accompanied video. And we track the use of those signs via QR codes. And it's really interesting to see, one, how much it's getting utilized, and two, the diversity of people and where they're from, including across the globe. In 24, our ATAX application was for additional interpretive signage, but for areas beyond the shell ring. And if you haven't seen any of these signs, I encourage you to go out there and take a look at them. We're really proud of how they turned out. The foundation has also just recently submitted a 2026 ATAX application. And so hopefully we'll have some good news, toward the end of the year, early next, on that application. Just wanted to bring you up to speed on a few happenings in the Forest Preserve here recently. On the 9th of this month, the Hilton Head Prep School was the host of a regional cross-country meet, which was entirely in the Forest Preserve, and they had almost 400 runners that have participated during that event. On the 10th of this month, a dedication was held for Charlie Miner. It was hosted by Chairman Ellis, and Mr. Birdwell was also there to say some very kind words that acknowledged the tirelessly advocacy that Mr. Miner did for the Forest Preserve, both when he was on the CSA and ASPO boards and also when he was on the Forest Preserve Advisory Board. This past Thursday, we ran a prescribed fire through the wildflower field. It's the first time we've ever done that. I was very pleased with the results. Essentially, what we were doing was burning off all of the dead biomass from the previous year that will then facilitate the preparation and the planting of next year's field, which will be done later this year. Now that summer's behind us, the monthly bird walks are going to resume, have been very popular in the past. So keep an eye on this week's email on the 18th that will be announcing the September boardwalk along with bird walk, along with the registration for that. The actual walk is on the 26th of September. But if you're interested, don't dilly. They do fill up very quickly. We will be sending out in October our annual solicitation letter. So when you all get that letter in the mail, open it, take a look at it, and we hope that you consider supporting the Forest Preserve. We do rely very, very heavily on the generosity of others to do everything that we do out there in the Forest Preserve. We have a new event coming up on the 18th of October. It's being called a Day of Discovery. There'll be more information to come. This is just kind of a save the date, Saturday, October 18th. This is going to be essentially an open house. There'll be morning sessions, there'll be afternoon sessions. We're working with all of our community partners to provide wagon rides, boat rides, carriage rides. There'll be a variety of guided and semi-guided activities for you to get out and enjoy our natural treasure. And then lastly, I'd like to end with our bonfire. This year's event will be on Friday, November 14th. Friday, November 14th. This will be our 14th annual event. It's a great event. If you haven't been, I would really encourage you to consider going, but there'll be more information coming soon on the bonfire. This concludes my report. Be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions to David? Any comments? Thank you, David. The next item is going to be Joe Count on safety, security, and transportation. Joe?
Good morning. Before I get into our the slide presentation that I'll give you, I wanted to just say from a safety and security standpoint, we had a relatively and comparatively peaceful summer. Definitely a little more peaceful than last summer, and it's the kind of summer I hope that we continue to have. So it was a great summer, and look forward to the rest of this off season and getting things ready for next year. Our staffing levels remain high and full, which is great. Our turnover is very low in the security department, which means you should be seeing some of the same faces at the gates, some of the same patrol officers out there, and listening to some of the same friendly voices, hopefully, in our dispatch center. This is vitally important, especially for our visiting guests that come here to visit, to see the resort, and especially for our property owners. It makes the whole process at the gates, especially, a lot more smooth. When you keep people, they understand the job better over time, and I think that's made a big difference. So I'm happy to see that. Hopefully that will continue. This summer, just a quick note, I want to give a shout out to, especially to the gate officers. We had one of the hottest, probably extended stretches of heat that I've experienced here in the South, period. We had heat indexes regularly for a period of a few weeks exceeding 110 to 115 degrees. And if you ever doubt how difficult it is to be a gate officer, go up there when it's 115 degrees heat index and stand in that place and bring all these tens and hundreds of thousands of cars in. They did really good work. They really kept such a good attitude coming in on those days, and Jared was a big help we made our best to keep those places as cool as we could. So that's just a shout out to them and what they did. So Stephanie's gonna steer through these. We'll switch over here to the presentation. We'll start out just by giving you the summary of how many calls for service we had. 3,237. These numbers for me are going to be through August of this year. These numbers compared to last year, very similar. A few less total calls for service, but not many. Reflected in, I think, the summer that we had. So it's consistent. The top 6 calls for service, again, never seem to change. We have dozens of different categories that we track, and these 6 continue to remain the top calls for service throughout Sea Pines. And that is always around 50%. Those numbers haven't changed much since I've been here. And it continues to be about the same. Okay, Stephanie, let's go on. Real briefly, I'm going to say a few things about traffic enforcement. Those of you, when I started here just over 2 years ago, and I can't believe it's been over 2 years already, one of the areas that I thought we were very deficient at was traffic enforcement. We have so many vehicles, so many bicyclists, so many pedestrians that fill the sea pines especially during the summer, that I really made an effort to try to bring traffic enforcement for the safety of the community up. And these numbers, as we go from, I went back to 23, then 24, and I'll explain 25. We had a total of 540 citations. Now that's a combination of tickets where you have to go to court or pay a fine, and also warnings that are just issued as reminders when violations occur. And those are done at the officer's discretion. We only had 540. When we really started to get into trying to let the officers understand the importance of it and start to buy into this idea that safety and traffic enforcement are related, we jumped up to 768 in 2024. Now, the 2025 numbers, we've already exceeded that number. The 1,500 is basically, we've only got October, November, and December left, but those are numbers projected to be about, we're on pace to get about 1,500 citations and warnings issued total for 2025. I put that number up there just to show that we've almost tripled that. I think that is absolutely terrific. A real testament to the buy-in that the officers have had. It's a lot more work for them. It's things that, but most of them are pretty excited about it. And this is all over the sea pines. I try to be everywhere. I can't be everywhere, but we try to hit the areas we know we have the most problems in. Now, this information from here on out is going to be posted, I think, quarterly, that I'll give to Stephanie to put on the dashboard. So I probably won't be talking a lot about showing a lot of these numbers in our board meetings, but obviously you can go to the dashboard and see what these numbers look like quarterly. This is just to represent and show what a difference I think we're making. And I think it's absolutely critical for the safety and of our citizens, or of our visitors, our property owners, and everyone else. Okay. Vehicles entering sea pines. This is the numbers that continue to just show how many vehicles come through here. This is just 24 versus 25 through August. As you can see on the totals, it's pretty close. We had just over 2.8 million vehicles through the gates in 2024 versus just over 2.7 million this year. Again, those numbers should put us, somewhere around 3.5 to 4 million vehicles for the year. We'll see. We keep track of that. Most of the traffic, again, close to 60%, comes through the pass or property owner's lane, followed by the ocean gate and the pay lane. Again, the numbers very, very pretty consistent with last year. So it's just still an amazing amount of vehicles that come through. Hang on one second, Steph. I wanted to mention something about the vehicles entering sea pines. And there's been some questions about, we've been working on, the other thing we've been working on really hard is to reduce the turnarounds, to reduce frustration at the gates, to reduce, to let vehicles pass through more quickly. And there's been two things they've done. One, the signage is terrific that Jared mentioned. I'm going to go off and talk about that. They've been up very recently. So I really don't have anything to say much about talking to the more experienced gate officers, especially on the day shift, that can kind of tell if these signs are happening. And kind of a funny story. I talked to one experienced gate officer and asked them, I said, well, what do you think about the signs? And they said, I think they're great, and they're going to be great if people will just read them. That's, the signs are terrific. And I do think they are helping to a degree. What I wanted to be able to show you, though, in the turnarounds was the fact that the credit card implementation that we did back earlier this year where I'm just going to try to give a really good comparison to see the impact that that's probably having, because I addressed that, and that to me was the biggest issue for our turnarounds, that we only took cash. I was going to give all the summer numbers. However, we've had some problems. I've had some problems with accounting it's a technical issue at the turnaround area through July and August. So I can't show those. I wish I had them. But I can show you I can tell you June of last year versus June of this year. And we had accurate counts in the turnaround. Last year we had 8,646 in the month of June turnarounds, vehicles. This year, June, we only had 6,877, which is a little over, I guess, 20% decrease in those turnarounds just in the month of June. And that's kind of given enough time, at least in the month of June, to give us some good data. And I think that's with the numbers being pretty close to the same, the vehicles entering being close to the same, to have a 20% drop in the turnarounds in a busy month, I think is extremely significant. And I really do attribute that to us taking credit cards. And that's been a big help. That's just my view on that. And hopefully I'll have some more data as we get that technical issue fixed. All right, Steph, we can move on. Gate report, 24 versus 25. Gate pass volume, we just break it down into the total amount. As you can see, we had, pretty close from last year. In fact, all across the board, pretty close. We actually had we were lagging a little behind when I gave this report a few months ago, but July and August were really big. We had some really good months in July and August, which really brought us back up to par for 24 versus 25. So good numbers, consistent, and pretty close. Okay, we can go on quickly. Short-term rental passes. Again, if you look down at that total number, 24 versus 25, statistically, it's dead even. 61,238 versus 61,244. A few more being done at the gates, a few less at the pass office, but again, almost identical. Annual decal sales, down a little bit overall. Still high, still good. And I'll give you just a second. The total numbers in black, and then it's just broken down into commercial in red, the island resident, non-resident decals in the green, and other decals, for instance, employee decals and such are in the light gray. But they remain at least consistent throughout. Okay. Trolley ridership. I'm going to give you these numbers again, remains pretty high. It's down a little bit in 2025 versus 2024, but still over 62,000 total riders. And this was just for, the season. This is, middle of March through Labor Day. And again, down a little bit, but still relatively high. The trolley continues to be, I think, a really important part of the experience here in Sea Pines. Being so large, giving people the opportunity to take transportation, whether it's the beach shuttle during the summer or any of the other routes that they go. So I'm very, very pleased with the numbers that I see there. And our trolley folks do a terrific job. They're out there all the time. And this is just the ridership. This doesn't include the special events that we have. It doesn't include weddings that we do and other such things. All right, and move on to the last thing. I know this has been put out. One of the things I recognized earlier in the year was that, especially as I spent some time at the gates and look around Sea Pines, is that the old gray property owner decals were getting very long in the tooth. We've had them for quite a few years. I just felt it was time that we actually started last year. We actually started doing our new branding of the Sea Pine property owner decals last year. And with that in mind, we decided that it was important for the integrity of the property owners that actually are here to go ahead and update these decals. The old ones are going to expire on January 1st of 2026. That means if you approach the gate and you have one of those and you don't have your new green one on, you're going to be questioned by one of the gate officers. This is something, as you read over there, we've been implementing this over the course of probably late spring, early summer. We started doing this to give plenty of time for property owners to come in and receive them. It's being done in a systematic fashion with the help of Stephanie putting out information, Brian and his folks up front at the Security Administration. That's going rather smoothly. Again, just please wait for your zone specific email before taking any action. If you already have one, you don't need to come back and get another one. Again, this is for the integrity of the property owners that are actually here. Once people sell their property and they leave Sea Pines, they're no longer property owners. The decals, they can still get in on the old decals, but I think it's just time for that to come to an end. Okay, and I think that that's going to end my presentation. And Stephanie, I thank you for guiding through all those slides, and I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone has.
Any questions to Joe? Comments? Okay, Joe, well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We'll now go into the treasurer's report, and Leanne, I'll turn it over. You've got the next 5 items.
Okay. Stephanie's going to drive the slides, and good morning, everyone. We have several items. If you move to the next slide, Stephanie, we have several items we want to cover, 3 of which are action items. And we'll be wrapping up with an update on the infrastructure, collections and spending, and an overview of the capital plan. So let's go to the review of the financial statements. So as I mentioned at the May board meeting, the Finance and Executive Committee committees were going to have a workshop over the summer to go through the 6-month financial statements and the 6-month status on the infrastructure spending and collections. It was pretty important, as Joe mentioned, through the first quarter, we were seeing results on the gate fees that it could have shown a trend that was a little bit off from what our budget. Luckily, in the second quarter, those numbers, and through July, actually, those numbers resoundingly were better, and we're back within budget. So the Finance Committee and the Executive Committee held a joint workshop. We went through a lot of detail on the June financial statements, and then actually had a Finance Committee meeting last week where we updated through the July 31st financial statement. So in your package is the July 31st financial statements, the balance sheet. I'll summarize a few points here. Victoria went through the property owner collection rates, and we have continued to maintain strong cash and investment positions, primarily because we are spending money on the infrastructure, as has been shown in the slides, and we're trying to keep a fairly liquid cash position to be able to access that money. We do not have any external debt outstanding, yet we have a line of credit available, and our capital reserves, which a couple of them by policy must be maintained on the capital replacement side and the emergency fund. We will talk about the upcoming capital reserve study to be performed in November in just a little bit. And just to remind you, we do have a $30 million balance sheet, and that balance sheet only includes the property and equipment that we can hold on our balance sheet. It does not include the common areas, and that's based upon the accounting guidance that we follow. So if you think about all the common areas, the roads, et cetera, that we actually maintain, our balance sheet would be much, much bigger. Moving to the next slide, please. So apologize for the small fonts on this, but I try to give a snapshot for the folks that are watching online, the board has a package of the financial statements that has detailed tick marks. And what we did was go through and try and highlight those fluctuations that were meaningful. Many of the fluctuations have to do with the timing of the July statements versus the remainder of the year. So you will notice that we are ahead of budget. If you look down at the bottom, income from operations, we are ahead of budget, but that's primarily due to the fact that major repairs and replacements is behind budget about $500,000. But don't worry about that. That got caught up in August and will be in part of September already. And as I mentioned, I am happy to say that the gate revenue trends had improved through July. So our concern about those numbers in March were put aside. You turn to the next slide. You will note that the revenue recognition for the numbers in the residential property assessments is a little off. We decided that we should be ratably recognizing the revenue each month as opposed to recognizing it when it was billed. What does that mean? It means when you compare our budget to actual, the prior year numbers to the current year numbers, they will look off, probably by the tune of $5 or $6 million. That's nothing to be concerned about. It's clearly an accounting convention of how we are recognizing the revenues in this year's budget versus how we did it last year. Just to let you know, we did review these financial statements in detail at our last week Finance and Executive Committee meeting, and the Executive Committee recommends approval. Are there any questions before I move forward with a motion?
Any questions? See none.
Okay, Resolution 9A, making a motion that the Sea Pines Community Service Associates Board of Directors, as recommended by the Executive Committee, accepts the Sea Pines CSA financial statements year-to-date July 31st, 2025, as presented.
Is there a second? We have a second? Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hands. Any opposed, the same sign? Unanimous.
Okay, next slide. Within the package of financial statements, you saw an update on the capital expenditures, both depicting the actual expenditures and the 2025 annual budget. Management has brought forward a budget amendment for a number of items that were approved in 2024, but they were not able to be purchased and delivered until 2025. So management has asked for a roll forward of those amounts in the amount of $605,000. The committee discussed it, and the Finance and Executive Committee recommend approval. The resolution that I am making as a motion is that the Sea Pines Community Service Associates Board of Directors, as recommended by the Executive Committee, approves the amendment to the Sea Pines CSA Capital Budget 2025 to include the $605,045 as presented.
Is there a second? See a second? Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hands. Any opposed, the same sign. Unanimous. Next item.
Okay, third item took up about 40 pages in the board package. It is a informational filing. Stephanie will move on to the next slide, please. It's an informational filing that we must make with the federal government on an annual basis. It's a Form 990 and recognized by not-for-profits all over the place. Our outside accountants prepare the form based upon management's information, and then management, myself, and the Executive Committee have reviewed the draft Form 990 for the calendar year 2024 financial statements. It is due based upon filing an extension in a couple of months. We are ahead of schedule. I am happy to say that we would like to file the form early this year. And there were really no major changes in either the form or the content, which is a good thing. But if you had a chance to flip through it, you'll see a lot of data that's required to be filed with the government. I would like to make a motion that Sea Pines Community Service Associates Board of Directors, as recommended by the Executive Committee, accept the form and gives management the authority to file the Sea Pines CSA income tax return, Form 990, as of December 31st, 2024, as presented.
Is there a second? These several seconds. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hands. Any opposed, the like sign? Unanimous.
Great, thank you. I'm sure Victoria will be very happy to get that off her plate and filed. Okay. This is our favorite topic, the critical infrastructure. We're going to take this in a few pieces. This first slide is an update on the revenue amounts. And you'll see that, and this is revenue, so this is collections. So the revenue amounts that were estimated in the referendum totaled 35 million from the property owners with an allocation of 16 million from the operating budget. So if you look at, and we have not presented 2024 and previous years on the slide, but if you look at the total, there's $42.8 million of both previously collected and anticipated to be collected funds that we expect to use over this same year period. The previous presentation that I made in May had a number that was closer to 43.8 million. And what we have done is there are some changes in the revenue for each of the years for what we believe are potential uncollectible amounts. And we want to make sure we're being conservative in the estimated collections.
Excuse me, we got a news break. The Fourth Circuit Court order denying the petition for rehearing has been granted. I thought that was newsworthy to get that in. I'm sorry to interrupt your thing, but I just wanted you to be able to say that.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Happy to have you interrupt for that news. Okay. So if we move on to the next slide. This is a big spreadsheet. It's hard to read, I understand. Hopefully when you printed it, it wasn't as difficult. What I'm trying to do is show the accountability of when we present data in previous periods. If it changes, if the data changes, that we are walking you through all the changes in a manner that makes a lot of sense. So, or I think makes sense, and hopefully you do. So what I tried to do on this slide is highlight for you the numbers and have associated tick marks for explaining kind of the ins and outs. It's a lot of data. It's, I'm sure you're like, oh, Lee, this is just too much. Let me just say, we have reconciled the numbers, you know, from the previous presentation in May to this presentation. The totals being spent are still the same. What's important is the prioritization. And what I'm going to show you on the next page, if Stephanie will move, is what changed and why. So some very important data became available this summer relative to bridges in our community that didn't appear to need work, but they actually do. And two of those are the Deer Island Bridge, which requires a seawall to be replaced. But the actual full replacement will happen in the next several years. And we had budgeted for that, but we need to push forward some money to spend on that bridge. The second bridge is Spartina Court. And those folks that drive over that every day probably think it looks great, but underneath it does not. And the underpinnings need to be fixed, and we need to replace it very soon. So we have moved both of those projects into 2026. Next, we get to the Otter Road and Fawn Lane area, and you saw the pictures that Russell presented. It's fair to say that the original estimates of what was work that needed to be done in that area, what we thought it was going to cost less, and we put about $2 million into the budget. for this specific area. And as we did the engineering studies, we learned that the drainage work underneath was very similar to the Lighthouse Lane area in that we need to abandon a number of that drainage work because it was too close to the houses and could not be reconfigured or replaced. So we have basically had to double that budget to about $4 million to be spent in that area. Now, I told you the spending amounts were going to stay the same for the period through 2028. And that meant we needed to delay some projects. And what management recommended and the Finance and Executive Committee concurred with is that Greenwood Drive, the two portions of that were going to be in 26 and 27 needed to move out to 2027 and 2028 so that we could reprioritize the work. And then thirdly or fourthly, the new leisure trail that we wanted to put in alongside Lighthouse Road from Harbortown to Fraser Circle has been delayed to 2029. I commend management for working through this new information, coming to the table with reprioritization and focusing on areas that from a safety point of view would be very important. I think this is, we've been talking about this 3-year capital plan and infrastructure focus as being a living, breathing document and making sure that we are amending things as necessary. And this is a good example of things that came to light based upon new information that we just had to readjust our plans. So there's a few points I want to make on my last slide. We are focused on the priorities. I mentioned the reprioritization. We are continuing to focus on the 2025 spending plan very closely. We will put ourselves into a deficit position. So we are outspending the collections. And it's very important to all of us that we focus on the spending. Where is it being done? And if we are spending in excess of collections, can we offset that with some operating funds that may be available? Sam and his team are working through that to see that if we have those available, funding available, and pausing if necessary. We're continuing to get refined engineering studies and making sure that we have accurate data as we project forward the 3-year capital plan. And separately, every 5 years, we do a capital reserve study. This is different than the infrastructure work. This is looking at equipment, just the plain old roads and the things that we need to maintain. And this will give us an estimate later in 2025 as to the total necessary if we were to kind of look at a full replacement of all our capital. What'll be interesting is we have had a policy that between 30 and 40% of that dollar amount should be maintained in a capital reserve. That's the 6.1 million that lives on the balance sheet right now. We anticipate that 6.1 million, should the policy stay the same, will have to grow considerably. And we'll have some very robust discussions about maintaining the policy and how do we fund that going forward. Victoria mentioned we're in the process of working on the budget as a management team, and the budget will be brought forward to the Finance Committee as a workshop later in October. And then the Finance and Executive Committees will have a chance to review the budget in detail and then bring forward a recommendation to the board in November. So it's a very busy time for the finance team. Happy to have the new controller on board and happy to have all the pictures to show you exactly where and how all this money that we're collecting and spending is being used. The pictures speak, they tell the story. I'm happy to answer any questions. That is the end of my report.
Any questions? Any comments? Excellent report. Thank you.
I have one comment.
Okay.
I want to thank Leanne and the Finance Committee for the paces that they put us through, we put us through, because it's really made us a better organization. And we've got a very, very strong, solid plan moving ahead that is have some opportunity to change it as necessary. You know, when I asked Russell to take a look at the bridges in January, and I said, Russell, let's look at every bridge we have in Sea Pines and bring a contractor in to do an assessment. And we found these deficiencies. And so we're able to move them around, and we've got the funds to fix them. And it's a great thing. So Leanne, thank you. Appreciate all the hard work, and look forward to going into 2026 and keep spending those critical infrastructure dollars for the benefit of this entire community.
Thank you. Thank you here too. Okay, that concludes that report. We go into no unfinished business. We're going to new business, and I'd like to make the first item of new business the approval of the amendment to the 2025 gate agreement to increase the pass from $9 to $10, incorporating within there. Well, let me take that, then we can discuss it. Is there a second to that? As a second, okay. And then in discussion, I'd like to reiterate the things I've already said. This was scheduled to be in under the 2018 gate agreement to get to this point. And because of the complications of COVID and other issues, it was not reached. So we are just simply resurrecting that. This money will be used for the proper purposes in Sea Pines. Obviously, with what you've heard and the issues that are going on, there are a lot of uses for a lot of things, and it's extremely nice, as far as I'm concerned, to have money that doesn't have to come directly from the property owners. And so with my comments, and we have a motion and a second, I'd ask if nobody else has a comment, we all in favor, raise your hands. Any opposed? See no oppositions. So it approved unanimously. And Steve, we will sign that hopefully later today or tomorrow and get it. Now remember, for all persons listening to this will not start until March 1 of 2016. So there is some time. Thank you for that. Next item, there's the announcement of the resignation and appointment of the Sea Pines Board of Directors vacancy Class B. Who's going to handle that?
Stephanie Fair is going to take that one.
Good morning. I have the announcements for our candidates. So happy to announce the following candidates applied and have been selected for the Class A nominating committee.
Stephanie, this is for Board B. This is the resignation and the announcement. So this, I'll take this one. This is when Tim Stearns.
Oh, so sorry.
That's okay. And then Phil Smith, Captain Phil Smith was appointed to that position.
Okay. Okay, that's just an announcement.
That's just an announcement. There's no action needed.
Okay, the next one's an announcement of the appointment of the CSA Board of Directors nominating committee chair Class B this year. Now, Stephanie gonna take that one?
That's you.
Well, that's Bob. I appointed Bob Gossett.
Bob Gossett.
I appointed Bob Gossett. Okay, I thought we did that already.
That's right. Yep.
Okay, and then the next one is the announcement of the CSA Board of Directors nominating committee.
Class A.
Class A.
Stephanie's gonna take this one.
That says results.
All right. Yes, I am again happy to announce the following candidates applied and have been selected by the Class A nominating committee to run for the 2026 Class A residential board. Those candidates are James Austin, Joseph Dubois, Lee Ann Leahy, and Lori Wellinghoff. And then for Class B, the following candidate has been selected by the Class B nominating committee to run for the 2026 Class B commercial board, and that is Rick Wright.
Okay. Thank you. There's no action on those, just simply an announcement.
Yes, sir.
So we're down through D. So the next item is E, the approval of the CSA Board of Directors committee meeting schedule for next year. You've had that in your packet. And if you're like everybody else, that far out, it's pretty close to the dates we had before. And I don't know if anybody's got any comments or anything, but if you don't, we're just going to need to approve that, and I would ask someone to make a motion. Dave made the motion. A second. seconded, no day, okay. Any discussion? No discussion, and all in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? Same, and looks unanimous. Okay, then we have a discussion of the rental registration program, long-term rentals. It has my name down there by that, but I don't know.
I'm happy to discuss it.
Okay.
So we've had a request to look and review
Okay.
our rental registration program as it relates to charging for a rental that's a long-term rental, something over 6 months versus a short-term rental. And so we think it's fair and appropriate that we create a carve out for those long-term or permanent resident rentals that we have that are not the nature of the short-term rentals that we have. So we want to see if there's the will of the board to allow us to make that change. I think Victoria, we have
3%.
3% of those rentals are long-term rentals. So those folks, this is their address, this is where they live. There's not the turnover, the wear and tear, the calls for service, covenant violations that we see with the short-term rentals, which is why we picked the short-term rental program in place to help us to manage those costs through security and community standards. So if it's the will of the board, we'd like to come back to you with a proposal to make that change for those long-term rentals to address that.
Any comments?
And we don't have that answer today, just something to think about.
We can put this on the workshop.
Yes, sir.
When we do that. Okay. All right, next item. Want to ratify approval of the critical infrastructure project on Otter Road.
Yeah, we all voted on this for us electronically already, so we're just ratifying.
Just ratifying that.
Yes, sir.
And so all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Okay, that's so ratified. Then we have also ratified the encroachment agreement on 41 Bennett Cove, which we've already electronically approved. So we have a motion to ratify it. I'll make the motion. Somebody second? Second. All in favor, raise your hands. Any opposed? Okay. And then we have another one, ratify approval of the encroachment agreement on 14 South Beach Lane, Audubon Pond, Lot 12. I'll make the motion that we approve, we ratify. Is there a second? Okay, second. All in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? And then we have one more encroachment agreement to ratify that we've already approved electronically, and that's 18 Black Turn Road, Audubon Pond, Lot 85. I move we ratify the approval of that. Is there a second? There's a second. All in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? That's unanimous. Well, before we go, I just want to tell you how exciting the meeting is, particularly with the latest news from the court. So we're there. The attorney did make the comment in his email to us that would be very, very difficult for them to go to the next step. Not prohibited, but very, very difficult. And that so I'm hoping that'll be an end to it. I'll find out how much time that the party has to make that decision. In fact, I've already asked him, and he'll respond back, and then we'll let you know. But for now, we're approved again. All right, and we only have a couple of questions.
We have 3 questions.
We've got a new one in then. So.
I'm happy to address them if you.
Okay, why don't you go on and get started then?
The first question is from Teresa DeRee regarding trash collection on Thanksgiving weekend. She says, I don't understand why we would not allow trash service for the week of Thanksgiving. I have once weekly service, and this was a problem last year as raccoons got in my trash cans. Why would service be disallowed over the holiday weekend? That's a great question. We are actually going to make the change and allow for the commercial and residential trash collection to come in on the Friday after Thanksgiving this year. We're gonna see how that goes. I think it will go well, and we will be notifying the community as well as the rental folks and property owners and the collection the waste collection companies that they will be allowed to come in on the day after Thanksgiving and pick up residential trash And we will not allow any other commercial activity to occur. So that will not change, but the trash collection piece will change. So we are going to be addressing that for this year. If it goes well, we'll make that a permanent change in the policy. The next question came from Miss Lisa Howie regarding the Greenwood Drive bike gate. Says CSA's responsibility is to provide safety and security to the gated community. Her responsibility is to pay her CSA dues, which she's done since 2012. She asked why CSA doesn't think our responsibility is optional. The Greenwood bike path gate has been standing open since heritage. She said her CSA payment will be prorated accordingly. I just want to let Ms. Howard know that gate was fixed over the weekend, but we've had a supply chain issue with it. We could not get the part in to fix the gate, and it was a part related to the safety of the gate function. It was the piece that prevented the gate from closing on somebody and injuring them. So, but it is fixed now, and we are looking for other vendors for those gates. But the supply chains on electronics and certain components has been a challenge for us on those gates for a while. And then the last question I think we have, Stephanie sent it to me, is from Mr. David May. He says, thanks for the dashboards. Any plans to have yearly dashboard ability to compare quarters and years, ability to see your prior quarters? For example, gate passes for the same 4 years ago, gate passes prior quarters versus current quarter, or similarly for maintenance requests or community standards reports. And yes, Mr. May, we're going to be adding all of that historical data over the course of the next few months as we get it and generate it, and you'll be able to look back and see those things. So that's part of the ongoing process for those quarterly dashboards. Again, thank you, Stephanie, for putting those together as you've been doing everything else associated with communications. And that's it.
Well, I think everybody, we've ended up, Steve, go ahead. You're on mute, Steve. Steve, you're on mute.